Good day, guys, and what is up? Welcome to another pew 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 video. Welcome to another video here at the channel. How many claps did you guys hear, by the way? If you heard 8, you're a little bit off. If you heard 10, you're also a little bit off. And if you heard 9, that's right, because you guys heard 9 claps. Now you may be asking yourselves, what does 9 claps have to do with the video? Excellent question. Now, the video is about to be top 9. And when I say top 9, I mean top 9 ranked video games of my childhood. Why did I choose to discuss my childhood video games? I fell into sort of like a rabbit hole of video game playthroughs that I've been seeing. And these games suddenly somehow led back to a game that I used to play when I was a kid that I now play a newer version of today, which is Star Wars Battlefront II. Now, some of you may not know this, but yes, there are 2 Battlefront games of Star Wars. One that was in 2005, one as currently as I believe to be 2016. Now, it got me thinking, why not rank my top 9 video games of all time during only my childhood? Now, this will rank only from the ages of 0 to 12 of my life, because if I try to rank every single game that I've ever played in my life, this will be a much longer video. So without further ado, let's start ranking these games of mine. There are no particular rankings in my top 9. They're not ranked by which game I love the most, except for my top 3 video games, which you will see. So the rest of the 6 games you will see are just ranked the way they are, by simply just because they're there, just because I played them during my childhood. So my top 9 video game to start us off is this game called Naruto Ultimate Ninja Heroes. Now, this game in particular, I've wasted a lot of time in. Now, part 1 starts off very simple. It doesn't really have a story. It reaches from Naruto as far as I believe Itachi and Kisame, which are 2 very beloved characters in the Naruto universe. And for part 2, there is basically a story. I don't remember the story that well, but there is like a floating ghost tower somewhere. And this time it involves a lot more characters. So basically, I used to play this game quite a lot in PSP. I'm not sure if this existed in like other platforms, but PSP I did have it. So when I was a kid, I used to be a very, very big fan of Naruto up until it ended. Though there was a time where I didn't know Shippuden existed, so there's that. We don't talk about that. Naruto used to be a very big part of my life. Now it's not. This video game means a lot to me. I still remember the gameplay. It's sort of like Street Fighter in a sense because it's very 2D in its gameplay. Okay, so moving on to the next game on my tier list would be... Okay, so my top 8 game is WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2010. WWE publishes a new game, as I believe they still do. They publish a new game every single year with a new roster, a lot of new mechanics, a lot of new maps, a lot of things to play with. And 2010 WWE, I'd say, was the peak of my WWE experience, because it was at this time that I was really hooked to it. I've been familiar with WWE before 2010, before this game, but I'd say this was the WWE game that really got me hooked into WWE in general and more of its other games. I have played other versions of this game, like other year versions I mean, but I don't remember playing them that much as I do this game. There's a lot of famous people that came from WWE that you may now know. Some of them may include Hulk Hogan, John Cena, The Rock, and probably even Dave Bautista. And these are the people that I also always rooted for, only because I grew up with this with my dad, and he was also a big fan of it. He was a big fan of the older WWE up until only I believe 2012. We kind of stopped watching WWE because it didn't have the same experience as it did back then. But it's not to say that it wasn't as fun anymore. So, moving on to my next game, my top 7 for this tier list is a little known Marvel game. I say little known, it may be very well known. It's a Marvel game called Ultimate Alliance. The premise of this game is that you play 4 Marvel heroes at once, forming a team with them. And you basically go across a lot of maps, ranging from SHIELD helicarrier to Tony Stark's tower to even, I believe, Valhalla, and then finally Doom's castle. Now, spoiler alert for those of you who are suddenly interested in this game who does not know anything about it. So basically, the plot of this game is that Doctor Doom assembles a team of supervillains to fight the superheroes, of course. And the end game of Doom is to basically manipulate all of them to the point where he gets Odin's power. Now, of course, you might be thinking, wow, that's overpowered. How do you deal with that? Well, along your journey, you do get to meet a lot of very powerful people, ranging from Uatu the Watcher, I believe his name was, and Galactus as well. Though you're gonna have to look at this game's gameplay and cinematics in order to fully enjoy and appreciate the artwork and basically the gameplay that goes into it. This game was one of my favorite games of all time growing up. This game is a lot of fun. It's not very open world in a sense of like Assassin's Creed or anything, but it does have like huge maps for every single like realm or world that you try to visit. Especially if you're a big Marvel fan, you would really appreciate this because it ranges from a lot of different characters from, as you can see on the cover, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and a ton of more characters that a lot of people would definitely enjoy. Now, my top 6 game is of course a GTA game, which is San Andreas. Now, this game used to be a staple of my childhood. I know some of you guys are probably a little bit worried now because this game was not exactly kid friendly. The reason why I play this game quite a lot for PS2 was because of the open world element, which some of you may know is something that I really love about video games nowadays. Because open world just lets you explore quite a lot of things. It allows you to do a lot of discovery inside the world of the game that lets you appreciate it even more. And the reason why San Andreas basically made it to my top 9 video games is because I probably wasted at least 500 plus hours on this. I would play this game so much that I would do any possible scenario. Like, I would let the cops chase me with cheat codes, and then I would also let the cops chase me without cheat codes. And overall, the story, I don't remember quite the whole story that much because I didn't really pay attention to the story. I'm not sure if you guys did, but I for sure did not pay attention to the story. I just love the open world element and the fact that you can do a lot of things quite literally in this game. I guess you can do that in a lot of GTA games, but San Andreas definitely was a staple for me, and I would safely assume that it has also been a staple for you guys. My 5th game in the list is a little known classic called CS 1.6. Now, you guys might be wondering, oh, that sounds familiar, because it mainly is. For the people in the Philippines who used to go to computer shops quite a lot, I know you guys have seen this game, let alone heard about it or even played it at some point. I started playing this game when I was at the age of my life where I would always go to computer shops, because computer shops were very rampant in the Philippines. Like, every single corner you'd go to would probably have a computer shop, and computer shops always had the staple of games, and CS 1.6 was definitely one of them. As a kid, even until now, I do not like FPS games. I very much suck at FPS games. My dad actually bullied me into playing this game because he used to be a very big Counter-Strike fan, and he'd always have his friends play with him in computer shops as well, and he'd sometimes bring me along. I play this game because of one thing, and that one thing is not fun, that one thing is not curiosity, that one thing is not peer pressure, that one thing that made me play this game, even though I hate FPS games, is petty. I was very, very petty, and I reached a level of pettiness where I told myself, alright, since these people, my dad and his friends, are beating the ever-living crap out of me every single time I play this game, I'm going to get good enough to actually beat them out of this game. I very much climbed up a ladder and you can imagine that my dad was the final boss of this game for me, and I beat every single one of his friends, and he was the one that took me the longest to beat, mostly because he would always challenge me to these sniper death matches. And again, I'm very bad at FPS, and the very element of being good at using a sniper is being good at FPS, which I really wasn't. So what I would do is every time we used to play at these sniper death matches is that I would cheat my way into winning. Now, I would buy like a sniper at first and then try to rack up some wins, rack up some money, to the point where I could buy like a machine gun and then a flashbang and a smoke grenade. So I would flashbang him from across the map, throw a smoke grenade to probably either use it or trick him into thinking I was at that direction, and then run straight through the field and then shoot him up close. Now this doesn't mean I never won a single deathmatch sniper game. I did. I won like a few games. It is a game that I very much appreciated in my childhood because it did let me bond with a lot of people, especially with my dad, with his friends, with some of my friends and cousins as well. Now this fourth game, I would say, is not really much of a staple that some of you guys may know as much as the ones in this list, because I used to be a very big fan of Nickelodeon. Basically, this was one of the games that I used to play when I was a kid. It's a Nickelodeon franchise, as you guys can see by the trademark right up there. This game is called Back at the Barnyard, and you might be thinking, that kind of sounds familiar, because it should. This game is basically based on the TV show by the same name. Now, I remember I played this on PS2. It was a very fun experience. I don't know if it exists on other platforms. I do know there's a PC, PS2, and a Wii version of this game. You get to create your own character, which basically was a cow, I believe. You were just stuck with a cow, but you were able to customize it more from there on. And what would happen was, I don't remember the plot of the show that much, but in the game you would basically be part of the Barnyard family, which is of the same show, and you would go around doing these adventures, doing these tasks. And while doing these tasks, of course, you'd earn points, you'd progress through the main storyline, etc. The reason why I love this game so much was because, again, it was a classic. I loved watching Nickelodeon shows, and that was already a big plus for me. Back at the Barnyard was a very funny show, in case some of you guys have never watched it or never even heard of it. Now, my top 3 games are, like I said in the beginning of the video, will be ranked. So basically, my third game is the third place, second the second place, and of course, my first game would be my all-time favorite childhood game that I remember very much. But basically, my top 3 game, my third game basically, is this game called Def Jam Fight for New York. And I remember playing this on PSP, not really PS2. Basically, the premise of the game is that it's a fighting game, of course. It has sort of similar elements to Tekken, in that it's not a 2D game like the Naruto game here and something like Street Fighter. You can actually move around the arena you're fighting in, and you can actually interact with the environment as well. You can like push people to the environment. You can use like a stick that you can find, or like a lead pipe, and smash it over someone's head, which is your opponent. And basically, you can also create your own character here. Again, it's not open world, but it's a very fun fighting game. The roster of this game includes a lot of artists that a lot of people already know about. Some of them are Snoop Dogg, which I believe was named Crow in this game for some reason. I don't know why he was named Crow, like Crow the actual bird. And also people like Sean Paul or Ludacris. Basically, the game had a lot of mechanics to it. You know, you would fight, and then at the end of the game, I believe, no, not at the end of the game. At some point in the game, you feel like this meter of yours that you can then use to perform like a super move that is sort of like a finisher in a way to knock out people, to knock out your opponent basically for you to win the game. It was a very fun game and had a lot of fun mechanics, and the soundtrack as well was really good. This was another factor that I forgot to mention that these games also have, is the soundtrack. Mostly games like Def Jam, you got Def Jam, Ultimate Alliance, WWE, and a little bit of Naruto, I believe, also had really good soundtracks that really won the game over for me. The second game in my list is Battlefront 2. There were two versions of this, one in 2017 or 2016, I believe, the newest one, and then one that was way back then into my childhood, which was in 2005. This game pretty much kind of looked like Battlefront 2. Of course, there were stark differences in terms of graphics because of the technology that was used back then. But it basically had the same premise where you would fight against another class, which would be, if you chose the clone class, you would go up against the droids, which is basically something you can do as well in the new Battlefront. If you consider that it was made in 2005, you consider the graphics, you consider the mechanics of this game, you consider the popularity of the franchise, which is Star Wars, consider the soundtrack as well, it did really good. Not just for me, but I would safely say for a lot of people as well. I would still play this game from time to time, and I would still very much enjoy it. Because of the nostalgia that I do get from it, I tend to play this game a bit more than the new Battlefront 2 sometimes, because that's just how fun it is. The mechanics, everything was just really fun. So, drum roll please. My top one video game of my childhood is Tekken. When I was a kid, I looked at this game and I did not think to myself, wow, that's a really fun game. I kind of want to play that game. I want to main that game. I want to make that game my top one. My first experience in this game was again including my dad and several other family members, including my tita, which was from my father's side, and my tito, which was from my mother's side. I had no interest in this game, but the fact that my dad, along with the aforementioned two people in my family, used to constantly beat me up in this game and then sort of like BM me afterwards, like, oh, you suck. You kind of suck at this game, kind of really triggered me so much. So much so that I actually got this game installed into my PSP, because originally we played this game on our PS2. It was a family console, it wasn't just mine. I got this game installed into my PSP, and then I would play this so much. I used to play Tekken alone on my PSP to get good, because again, they were BMing me, they were beating the living hell out of me in this game every single time. The most that I would win would probably be 1 round or 2 rounds, but I would never win a match against any of them. And I mean never. I mained 3 people in this game. It was Jin, Kazama, it was Devil Jin, and I think this other character named King. I'm not sure if it was King, but I'm pretty sure it was King. I started to beat first and foremost my tita from my father's side, because I found out that, no offense, I found out that she was not actually a big fan of this game. She didn't play the game because she liked it as well. She played the game as a spammer. So she basically just throw out these moves out of nowhere. Like there was no real plan to it. She would just keep spamming me left and right, and I kind of figured that out very quickly. The second person that I beat was my tito from my mother's side, and he used to use this character named Paul. And if you don't know Paul, he basically had this one move that could empty your life bar in one fell swoop. So one of the ways you can actually beat Paul in this game was movement. You could actually move sideways, like left and right, because again, Tekken is not Street Fighter where it's just 2D. Tekken is actually 3D to the point where you can move to the side and all that. And I learned from my tito and the game's boss itself, which was I believe Jin Pachi, that you could move sideways to evade quite a lot of moves if you time it right. The last person I beat in this game in my childhood was of course my dad. Very much like my tita, he was also a spammer, but he was a worse spammer. Worse in a way that he kind of knew what he was doing. He would always use either Christy or Eddie to spam the living crap out of me. Because of my experience from Tekken 5, I got addicted to very much every other Tekken game, which I also played a bit of Tekken 4, Tekken 6, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and Tekken 7. Tekken games right now does keep some of the same mechanics that I fell in love with Tekken 5, which was awesome soundtrack, awesome cast of characters. Even though I say sometimes it gets a little bit unbalanced, it also has its awesome move lists that is sort of unique for each and every character, represents their fighting style, represents their character as a whole. There's like a connection from CS 1.6 and Tekken 5, where if I did not get my ass beat or ass handed to me over and over again, these two games would probably not be in my top 9. That is very much for sure. Looking at this list right now, I'm pretty much happy with the games that I kind of grew up. These are monumental games to me that really defined my childhood. It made my childhood really, really fun. If I could, I would still definitely play all of these games again. These will forever remain classics for me, and hopefully to some people as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the idea of me ranking my top 9 video games, because I do plan on doing this again. Maybe top 9 movies, top 9 songs, top 9 TV shows. Let me guys know which one you guys want to see first in the comment section down below. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys used to play in your childhood. Maybe your top 9, top 10, top 5, top 3, whatever it is. Maybe there's some games that I used to play too that didn't make in my top 9. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content that I will have on this channel, because you're gonna see a lot more, hopefully more of this, hopefully a variety of more videos to come. And this is me signing out. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day, wonderful week ahead. Love you guys. Bye.